Hello, and welcome back to another deep dive.
Great to be here.
We really appreciate you joining us again. And hey, if you find these discussions valuable, hitting that like button or subscribing really does help us keep digging into these topics for you.
It absolutely does. We appreciate the support.
So today we're tackling a question that, well, it seems like almost everyone who works out thinks about at some point. Is it actually better to eat before your workout or after?
Yeah, it's such a common question. And it feels really fundamental, doesn't it, when you're trying to, get the most out of your fitness efforts.
Exactly. Because proper nutrition and exercise are so closely linked, what you eat impacts your workout, and your workout impacts, well, how your body uses that food.
It's definitely a two-way street.
Yeah.
How you fuel directly influences what you can do performance-wise and also how quickly you recover afterwards.
Right. So our mission for this deep dive is to really get into the science behind this whole before versus after thing. We've gone through quite a bit of research, and we want to pull out the key nuggets for you, keeping in mind that people have different goals, different types of workouts, all that stuff.
And the aim is really to make it clear, right? To help you understand what the research suggests without getting lost in super technical jargon.
Precisely. We want you to feel well-informed by the end of this.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's unpack it. Eating before versus eating after exercise. What's the initial lay of the land?
Well, one of the first things that jumps out is how differently your body can respond, depending on whether you've eaten recently. For example, exercising when you haven't eaten for a while. People often call this fasted exercise.
Right, like first thing in the morning, maybe?
Exactly. That can actually push your body to use more of its stored fat for energy during the workout itself.
Okay, yeah. The information we looked at mentioned a pretty big analysis. I think it was over 270 people. And it did show higher rates of fat burning during exercise when people were in that fasted state, which, sounds promising if fat loss is your goal.
It definitely sounds like it could be a direct path, yeah. The logic is, well, if you haven't eaten, especially carbs, your blood sugar isn't elevated.
So no easy energy readily available.
Right. So the body thinks, okay, where else can I get fuel? And stored body fat is major energy reserve. So it starts tapping into that more readily.
Okay, so exercising fasted forces more fat burning in that moment.
Yeah.
Seems straightforward. But is it the whole story for overall fat loss? Does burning more fat during the workout automatically mean you lose more fat overall?
Ah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's where things get a bit more nuanced. While you might burn a higher percentage of fat during that specific fasted section, the research we reviewed really questions whether this translates directly into greater total fat loss over, say, weeks or months.
Right. And it seems the answer is maybe not, or at least the strong evidence isn't quite there yet. It was interesting how some early ideas suggested fasted exercise might lead to better body composition changes, but
more rigorous studies haven't consistently backed that up. The material we looked at pointed to a couple of studies, specifically with women, that found basically no significant difference in total fat loss between those who exercised fasted and those who ate beforehand.
So what's likely more important then?
It really seems to come back to the bigger picture. Overall energy balance. Total calories in versus total calories out over the whole day, the whole week.
Okay.
And probably the overall quality of your diet, too. Those factors seem to be much stronger drivers of fat loss than the specific timing of your pre-workout meal.
That makes sense. So the timing might be less of a magic bullet for fat loss than some people hope. What about performance, though? That's the other big piece. If you skip eating, are you going to feel weak or just unable to push hard?
Yeah, that's a huge consideration. And the sources definitely looked into this, breaking it down by workout type and length.
Okay.
For shorter aerobic stuff, say under an hour, like a typical jog or bike ride, most of the studies analyzed didn't find a major performance difference whether people ate before or not. And interestingly, the same seemed to hold true for HII, high-intensity interval training.
Oh, really? Even for HII, you'd think you'd need that quick fuel source.
You would think so. And to be fair, the research did note that some studies did show performance improvements with pre-workout carbs, even for shorter activities. So there's likely some individual variation there.
Okay.
But the general idea is that for shorter durations, your body's existing energy stores the glycogen in your muscles and liver, plus your body fat are often enough to fuel the effort reasonably well, even without a recent meal.
So for a standard gym session, maybe an hour or less, or a HI class, It might boil down more to personal preference for many people.
That seems to be the main takeaway for those shorter durations, based on the summary we saw.
Mm.
But things do seem to change when the exercise goes on for longer.
Ah, okay. Longer than an hour, you mean, like endurance stuff.
Exactly. Marathons, long bike rides, that kind of thing.
That feels more intuitive, that fuel would matter more then.
And the evidence seems to support that. The information highlighted a big analysis where over half the studies showed better performance when people consumed food, mostly carbohydrates, before these longer workouts.
So carbs before a long run or ride are probably a good idea.
Yeah, the suggestion is that having some slower digesting carbs, maybe a few hours before, or even some easily digestible ones closer to the start, can really help maintain energy levels and performance for endurance athletes.
Okay, so a clearer benefit for fueling up beforehand when you're going long.
It seems that way, yes. Though it's worth noting, even then, some studies had mixed results, so it's not like it's a universal guarantee for every single person in every situation.
Right, individual factors always play a role. Now let's flip it. What about afterwards? Say someone does choose to work out fasted, or even if they ate before. What should happen post-workout?
Well, this is where the advice seems pretty consistent across the board. Regardless of your pre-workout approach, getting nutrients in after exercise is generally seen as really beneficial. Exactly. For recovery and adaptation, we're talking primarily protein and carbohydrates here. Protein is vital for repairing the muscle tissue that gets broken down a bit during exercise.
Right, rebuilding.
And carbs are crucial for replenishing those glycogen stores we talked about, getting your energy tanks ready for the next time.
And the sources specifically mention this is even more important if you exercised fasted, right?
Absolutely. If you went into the workout without topping up your fuel, your reserves are likely lower, and your body doesn't have immediate nutrients floating around to start that repair process. So getting that post-workout nutrition in becomes particularly key in that scenario.
Okay, so for the early morning fasted workout crowd, that post-workout breakfast or shake is really quite important.
Definitely. The research also touched on when exactly to eat after. There's often talk about the anabolic window.
Yeah, that magic hour or two afterward.
Right. The idea that your muscles are extra receptive right after exercise. Well, current thinking suggests that window might be a bit wider, maybe less critical in terms of timing than we once thought.
Oh, interesting.
As long as you get those key nutrients, protein and carbs, within a few hours post-exercise, you're likely still getting most of the benefits. But the general advice is still to eat as soon as is practical, especially if you train fasted. Don't wait unnecessarily long.
Okay, that makes sense. Practicality matters too.
Oh.
So bringing this all together, it sounds like the science offers some guidelines, but there's a lot of room for personal preference and finding what works for you.
Absolutely. That was a strong theme in what we reviewed. For most people who are active, you can likely reach your goals whether you tend to eat before or exercise fasted. It really depends on how you feel.
Yeah.
And the type of workout, the duration like we discussed. Some people feel really sick or sluggish if they eat too close to exercising.
Mm-hmm. I've definitely felt that.
While others feel like they just hit a wall if they don't have something beforehand.
And just practical life stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Like if you squeeze in a workout at 6 a.m., maybe making and digesting a full meal just isn't feasible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in that case, the research suggests maybe a small, easily digestible snack beforehand. Could be a good compromise if you feel you need something, but don't want digestive upset.
Right.
It really points towards experimenting a bit.
Trying things out and seeing what feels best for your body and fits your routine.
Precisely. Finding your own optimal strategy.
Okay, great. So just to quickly summarize the key takeaways from this deep dive. First, eating before you exercise generally means higher blood sugar and using more carbs for fuel during the workout.
Right. And exercising fasted tends to make your body burn a higher percentage of fat during that exercise session.
But, and this is a big but, the current research doesn't strongly show that exercising fasted consistently leads to more overall body fat loss compared to eating before. Total energy balance seems key there.
Exactly. And for performance. For shorter workouts like under an hour, aerobic, or HIIT, most studies show little difference whether you eat or not, though some individuals might feel better or perform slightly better with some fuel.
Okay. But for longer workouts, over an hour, eating beforehand, especially carbs, is more likely to improve your performance and endurance.
Definitely a stronger case there. And regardless of pre-workout eating, getting nutrients in afterwards, particularly protein and carbs, is important for recovery, even more so if you trained fasted.
Got it. And finally, maybe the most practical point. Personal preference matters a lot. How you feel, what fits your schedule, the specifics of your workout, these should guide your decision.
Absolutely, listen to your body.
So for you listening, maybe take a moment to think about your own routine. How do you typically feel exercising with or without food beforehand? Based on what we've discussed, are there any small adjustments you might consider trying? Maybe experiment a little with timing or the type of food and see how it impacts your energy and recovery. Finding what works best for you is really the goal here.
Well said. It's all about optimizing for your individual needs.
Thanks so much for taking this deep dive with us today. We hope this helps clarify things a bit.